right into the first dimension of rights, survive and thrive. Here, essentially, we are looking at these sub-dimensions, health and nutrition, if I want to put it in a short way. And let's go and look what's going on here. We see some progress in health. Anemia among pregnant and lactating women going down over time. Vitamin A deficiency among pregnant and lactating women going down over time. Adolescent fertility and pregnancy going down over time, as well as skilled health and facility-based delivery going up, which is very, very good. So these are all really good signs of progress when it comes to some of the basic indicators in terms of access to health for children and mothers. However, we see stagnation when we look at under 5 mortality rates. Under 5 mortality rate is a key indicator for children's rights. This is the number of children who reach their 5th birthday by, per 1,000 live births. So that's the number that you have over here. You see the breakdown here by region, and I believe the next slide will show us the overall. We see stagnation, not too much improvement between 2017 and 2022. And the other graph showed you how that's happening by region. The purple one on the top is BARM, good decrease there, but the rest are staying pretty much where they are. Let's break that down a little bit. Going now to infant mortality. This is the number of children who make it to their 1st birthday. Same thing here. You see some stagnation there, BARM, the purple one, going down as well. And when we look at the next one, which is the overall country together, you see almost a bit of a rise. This is not good, the fact that we're seeing this. Let's look at now neonatal mortality, the children who die within the 1st month, or to be exact, 28 days of their lives. The regional picture is really a mix, not too much information. They're going up and down and so forth. When we look at the national level also, really worrying. And this gives us a really interesting insight. We just saw that the access to services is going up. More births are happening in facilities, which is very good. But neonatal mortality, which is almost 68% of infant mortality, is stagnating. So this leads us to believe that there's a problem with the quality of services that are being offered. The access is improving, but perhaps the quality is not where it needs to be when it comes to healthcare for maternal and child health. But there is a very good news here, which is what's happening with child mortality in BARM. Look at those numbers go down. All 3, under 5, infant mortality, neonatal, all of them going significantly down, which is really, really good news. And these figures, it's joining the rest of the region, the rest of the country. So good progress there when it comes to neonatal mortality. But still, one of the highest in the region. Now, why are children dying? We know that the most common causes of deaths are infectious and parasitic diseases. Many of these are preventable through vaccines. So if we look at the overall coverage of basic antigens, it's increased from 70 to 72%, but it's still way below the ideal of 95% that we need for herd immunity. What we have here is the number of children, what we call zero-dose children, children that have not received any doses of vaccines. It's 1 in 10 in the Philippines. This is based on the 2022 Demographic and Health Survey, but 6 in 10 in BARM. You see a map of the Philippines where you can see the differences in terms of vaccine rates. We know, however, that since the Demographic and Health Survey in 2022, there's been a huge catch-up effort by the Department of Health. And it's very good news that the Philippines is no longer top 5 in zero-dose children in the world like it was 2 years ago. It is now out of the top 20. However, we need to maintain that through improving our routine immunization system so that we don't get back here and have to catch up again. The other aspect that the analysis is bringing up is around mental health, which has become prominent among adolescents. A significant portion of youth do not usually reach out. When we do get data on this, for example, we're presenting the calls received at the National Center for Mental Health Crisis. You can see the huge upward trend related to the COVID-19 lockdowns. It is going back down, but higher than it was before. And the yellow color is all types of calls. The gray is suicide-related calls. And we can dive in a little bit deeper here on the suicide ideation attempts amongst youth 15 to 24. You see it's higher amongst females than males, and you see that upward trend that is there. So I think mental health is an issue that is increasing, unfortunately, for children and for young people, and it is something that we need to be paying attention more. One positive aspect is that we've seen during the COVID times that the use of telemedicine, teleconsultations for mental health has increased, which I think is a silver lining in terms of our ability to deal with this this issue. Now, what are some of the key bottlenecks that were identified by the analysis when it comes to the children's rights to health and nutrition, or survive and thrive? We see that there are varying levels of knowledge and capacities, both on the service provider side, but on the demand side, right? Here, what we mean is that practices or social norms are leading to some of the issues that we see, be it vaccine hesitancy, leading to high level of zero-dose children, be it feeding practices leading to high levels of stunting, etc., or be it open defecation leading to higher levels of stunting. So we see that the knowledge and behaviors are really important. We mentioned the inadequate quality of services. Access to services is going up, but the key indicators on mortality are remaining stagnant, so that shows that the quality needs improvement. On the supply chain side, we're also seeing, especially on the immunization side, as well as the nutrition commodity side, supply chain issues are continuing. The Philippines is a country of over 7,400 islands, so logistics is not easy, but nevertheless, this is a key bottleneck. And information systems that are fragmented, you'll see this across the different dimensions, is an issue that does not always allow us to have the right information at the right time to make the decisions that are timely. Moving on to nutrition, I think many of us know that stunting has been a long-standing problem in the Philippines. Stunting is when a child is not the appropriate height for his or her age, and that is a sign of both physical underdevelopment, but also cognitive underdevelopment. So really important for the country to deal with this issue if it wants to take advantage of its human capital. Now, the lines that you see are what the WHO defines as levels. So if you have 30% stunting, if 30% of your under fives are stunted, then you're considered to be very high. 20% high, 10% medium. What we see over time from 85 until now, we're seeing progress, but not fast enough. We're now at 26.7% of under fives who are stunted. That is no longer considered very high, but it is still very high. This is, just to give you a sense, it's 5th among the East Asia and Pacific countries and top 10 in the world. We're seeing stunting being higher amongst boys. We see that across the world because they have a higher caloric intake requirement, but we're also very much seeing it in children in poor households and those that are living in rural areas. Now, this is really interesting. What we found is that 9 out of 10 are able to eat of children the minimum number of times. But only 1 in 10 receive the minimum acceptable diet and dietary diversity. So the malnutrition issue in the Philippines is mainly not an issue of food security. It's not that children don't have enough to eat. It's that children are not eating the right things. Do you see? The fact that we have such a difference between these two numbers points us in that direction, both on the stunting side as well as an emerging problem, which is overweight and obesity, which is shooting up very rapidly in the Philippines. You see the age groups here. Again, the horizontal lines represent the WHO standards for high, very high and medium. This is percentage on the vertical axis here. So you see across the age groups for the 5 and 10-year-olds and 10 and 19-year-olds, it's really going up very fast for the Philippines. So this is really an emerging trend of importance for the children in the Philippines. Breaking that down a little bit now to understand where that's happening, overweight and obesity sex by residents, we see that it's happening very much more in urban areas, more in boys, and in those, if I go to the next one, in the higher wealth quintiles. All right, so higher wealth quintiles, urban areas, and boys are most at risk for the obesity the issue. One other thing I wanted to mention that the analysis found is that 82% of adolescents are insufficiently physically active. So there's a combination of not having the right diet as well as not being physically active sufficiently. So that's really important, and especially the case for those residing in urban areas. What are some of the bottlenecks that we see when it comes to nutrition? Access to nutritious food. I think all of us who live in the Philippines know that it's just much cheaper to not eat healthy. Availability of processed foods, the lack of availability of fresh vegetables, the lack of availability of protein, diverse protein sources. That's really leading, it's a food system issue as well as a supply chain issue leading to this situation. We also know that inadequate knowledge and practices on nutrition, not knowing what diverse food means, perhaps not knowing the importance of exclusive breastfeeding are also contributing to some of the numbers that we're seeing. We also think that inadequate regulations and policies are contributing to the factor. UNICEF recently did a testing of complementary baby foods, and we found that 1/3 of them in the Philippines have added sugar, which they're not supposed to have. And of course, if you're a baby and you've been fed that sugar, you're going to crave that sugar as you grow older, and it's going to be really a hard cycle to break. So I think we also, the analysis found we need more regulation when it comes to food policies. And of course, the fragmented data systems also makes it hard to make real-time decisions. Okay, in terms of looking forward on data on nutrition, I'm very glad that Asek is here from the NNC because we're looking forward to the 2024 Expanded National Nutrition Survey that's going to give us really important information to assess the policies and the investments that the country has made in combating nutrition. So that's going to be really exciting when that comes out, hopefully next year.